economic collapse of almost every country in the globe. And I've had a number of emails asking me, well, why? Because everyone is talking about a coming collapse. And certainly there seem to be a lot of people, including banks, financial institutions other than banks, NASA, who are preparing for a global collapse. So let's first look at what's caused it. And the root causes, it's quite simple. It's a combination of Western democracy and capitalism. Let me explain. Politics here in the West is a popularity contest. You have to get people to vote for you. Now, the way you do this is by giving them stuff. And there are times when giving them stuff is quite okay. Now, in the old days, there didn't used to be things like pensions, unemployment benefits, social security. None of that used to exist. And then after the war, when the population was low and people were dying at an early age, the governments across the world thought it was a good idea, because then people would vote for them, to actually institute pensions, social security and all these other things. Now, let's just take pensions. Now, when the pension was first mooted, the average age of death was around 2 years before the retirement date. So what did this mean? This meant that hardly anybody would live to collect their old age pension, and the population was lower anyway. Now we look at the state today, and people are living for longer. It's not unusual for someone to live into their 90s, and that's 30 years of collecting a state pension. And this money has never ever been factored in to state calculations in any state that I am aware of. And social security, well, because of capitalism, which I'll go into in a minute, jobs have been on the decline across the Western world. In fact, the employment participation rate in the United States is currently the lowest it's been for one hell of a long time. Although they're trumpeting about, oh, we're creating jobs, these jobs are part-time. And this is showing up in the fact that the statistics around consumer purchasing, and indeed the share value of major stores like Walmart, are actually declining. And the reason why is that people don't have so much money. The reason why is because the jobs that are being created are rubbish jobs. They don't pay. So, what about capitalism? How's this created all this? Well, capitalism is purely the pursuit of profit. And that's it. Nothing else really matters. You don't matter. And that is capitalism. Now, in search of profits, what have they done? They've outsourced jobs. So now the people who would normally have jobs in your country are working in India. And of course, an Indian software engineer is quite happy with $150 a month compared to the $3,000 plus a month he could earn in the US. And the same goes for many other jobs. I mean, look at mobile phones. Nearly all mobile phones now are made in China. And all those manufacturing jobs, thousands and thousands of manufacturing jobs, no longer exist in the US, in the UK, in Germany, but lots of Chinese people have very low paying jobs. They're practically on slave labour for mobile phone assembly, for producing clothes, for doing all these other things that the companies used to have to pay huge amounts for labour in the West, and now they're quite happily taking their profits as these goods are made in the Far East and in any country, including Mexico. I mean, Honeywell was one of the first people to outsource, and they did this by relocating plants to Mexico. And anywhere where labour is cheap, these companies will go. And so the economy's really been gutted from the inside, and this is true for every Western economy. So these companies have thrown thousands upon thousands of people out on the street without a job, and they are reliant on state benefits which were never costed for, and so the government debt spirals out of control. You might say, well, does this matter? Because the government are the government, they can always print more money, it's only bits of paper. And the answer is yes, it does matter, because the government has to buy things from overseas, and you have to buy things from overseas. America imports around about 20% of its food. The UK imports over 1/3 of its food. And if the currencies get too low, then the country can't afford to buy food. In some cases, if the country is dependent on imports for energy, if they buy things such as oil, then the government can no longer afford these luxuries, and people must starve, or people must go without heating fuel in the winter. So this is very serious. They can't print too much money because it devalues the currency, and then they can't afford to buy anything. So that is not a way out. And to be quite honest, everyone at the moment in the financial world is struggling to think of a way out, because there doesn't seem to be one. Well, there's two. One of them is really horrible. It's something that's been done before. It's called World War I and World War II. This forces countries to reset their economies, resets their balance of trade with other countries. I mean, for example, a lot of gold was pumped out of Germany and Europe during World War II, which went mostly to America and to Britain. Some of it was given back, but nowhere near all of it. A tiny fraction, in fact, was given back. And this is war. It's an economic leveller. And whenever you get times of severe economic stress, you get war. But it's not really a good solution, is it? Or is it? Depends. If you want to kill a few million or a few billion people in order to reduce world population, then yes, it's a good method. But for the vast majority of people on this planet, it's no damn good at all. What we're all hoping for is that there will be some kind of economic reset. Just like you can push the reset button or the restart button on your computer, then perhaps the International Monetary Fund can push a restart button on the world economy. But this would require something else that people are very much against. This would require a global currency. It has its advantages, it has its disadvantages. Many people who are conservatives at heart and who are nationalists feel that it's too high a price to pay. But would they rather have war? I wonder. Now, another way of doing a global reset would be to totally change the methodology of the way the world works financially. And it's known that the Vatican in particular, the Pope, he is much in favour of doing this. And the idea behind there is that basically it's communism. Everybody, if they're of an age to work, gets paid a wage by the government. The same wage, all the way across the board. If you're in certain jobs, you might get a slight bonus on top of that. So it doesn't matter if you work or not, you still get paid. And likewise, the companies are taxed to the hilt. So instead of having a huge labour bill and a small tax bill, they will now have a huge tax bill and no labour bill whatsoever. And that kind of makes sense in a machine-dominated world. So, if you think that this is going to happen, there's a lot of people who hope it does, but if you think that this is going to happen, then it's time to start investing in companies in the leisure industry, because everyone is going to have an awful lot of leisure.
Well, you could subscribe to Arduinotronic, or just go jump in a lake.
Arduinotronic, harmonic, ionic, bionic, atomic. It will astonish you, it's magical and casual, actual but